ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new edition of Creating Dark Velvet. This time I'm here with Florian Magnus Maier, one of the composers that is writing the new pieces on this CD. So we are gonna write the music of Erich Zann, and we are right now at a very, very special location, which is also kind of a part intertwined into this whole composing process that is going to become a movie. So, welcome Florian, nice to be with you here, and this is going to be very exciting. So we know each other really, really long time. You wrote for me so many exciting pieces, and we have been a part of the same band, even the Hungry Gods, and
shared a house for
years. And we know each other really, really well on a personal and also musical level.
Yes.
And I'm really thrilled, and thank you very much for accepting the invitation.
Dreams coming true.
So tell us more about this piece that is going to be.
So, I have been a fan of the works of H.P. Lovecraft, one of the founding fathers of the so-called cosmic horror genre, since I was 13 actually, and found a book that my mom had bought of his stories. And one of those stories is called The Music of Erich Zann, and basically it tells the story of a violinist who conjures demons from other dimensions with his music. And obviously, as I was becoming a musician and then later also becoming a composer, it started very early that I was thinking I have to write that piece one day. And it took more than 20 years before there was actually a chance to do it well. And this is where we are right now. I mean, hopefully we are old and wise enough to do it properly. And we are, of course, thrilled that we got some support, that we can turn this into a small film, actually. The plan is that the movie will take about 8 minutes or something like that, 8 to 10 minutes. And we will try to be as faithful to the story as we can, while at the same time, let's say, anchoring it in our time, and of course, taking into account our personal stories, also Julia's Hungarian background, because there is a part in the story that also mentions some fragments of Hungarian music. So there's a lot of things that are coming together here in a very nice way, and I think it's perfect that that we can do it as it should be, hopefully, now.
Do we know what happens to Erich Zann? Does he conquer the demons?
Well, the story doesn't really specify in so many words, because Lovecraft always ends his stories in somebody who's running away from the scary thing. But I dare to predict that it's not good what happens to him.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
But what is going to happen to me, we are still to decide.
Exactly.
And it's optional, as we had a little talk with the crew. So that is fantastic. But on, I mean, because this is originally, the whole concept was making this piece for the album Dark Velvet. But it got a little bit out of hand, so it grew into something more creative and additional aspect of filming it into on a screen, which we will certainly do. But to go back to the musical aspect of it, we have also a Shruti box, which resonates in G. And actually we found out also this place, because there is a constant hum. I don't know if we will manage to take it out of the video, but
even the ventilation is in G, just like the violin, of course.
Just like the violin. So that's great. But so we are going to have some additional elements that are going to create the horror aspect, but you didn't want to go electronic
exactly
into it.
There are a few reasons for that. First of all, it's practical considerations, because as soon as you have anything electronic, it forces the player or the venue to set up a PA and a whole lot of cables. And as much as I love electronic music, and
it's a horror in its own, right?
Well,
it's always different than what you think.
Either for the technician or for the performer. And my ambitions for creating a violin solo piece and a special violin solo piece are, of course, also that the piece should be able to be performed wherever, like in as many places as possible. So we don't want to be dependent on too complex a technical setup that might prevent the piece to be played somewhere else. And I love the idea that you create something that you would usually create with electronic music, and in this piece it is gonna be, you know, some ghostly, spooky elements. So to use the effect of electronic music, but to create these things acoustically. So that the entire piece is acoustic, even though it might end up hopefully sounding obscure in a way that you don't know where these sounds are coming from and what produces these sounds. So Julija is bringing
let's show
an Indian instrument called a shruti box, which singers use to accompany themselves, and which is apparently mainly sold for yoga classes, invariably with a very kind of dull, basic sound. So
it's a quint, right?
Yeah, it's so this would be how this instrument is used in the yoga classes.
It's actually ragas.
Yeah.
For the yoga classes.
Well, its original purpose is as a musical instrument, yes, and not as something to make people fall asleep. But so there are bigger and smaller ones. This is the big version. It has 3 octaves, and it has 3 chromatic octaves, which means me as a contemporary composer, I can rejoice in being able to set it to any possible chord. So I'm just going to do a random cluster-like chord. I have no idea what's going to come out, but let's just try it out. Because of course, spooky sounds can never be too harmonious, because that kills the spook. So let's see, this is more a contemporary chord.
And of course, we have to find a way to. We have to find a way to implement this into my while I'm playing.
Yes.
So we will have to rebuild it so that I can use. I mean, I don't have to use my hands.
Exactly.
To play.
But this is.
But rather like a pedal or something like that.
So right? About this. When I write a solo piece, I don't want the listener to think, oh, that's pretty good for a solo piece. No, I want the listener to completely forget about the fact that there is only one performer. Because at the end of the day, it's music, and it has to work as a musical piece. So poor Julija will face a lot of technical challenges, because, I mean, we've been, you know, trying to create new stuff for many years, and in our ensemble, The Hungry Gods, years ago, I wrote technically very, very hard stuff for her. But I want to go a step further, and one thing that interests me about writing this piece is exactly also to find uncommon sounds and uncommon techniques on the violin. Besides the fact that as a composer that interests me, it is also necessary to tell the story of something spooky and unearthly and perverted sounding. So I want to, of course, find that on the violin as much as possible. And we've been trying for a while different techniques, unusual things that
includes undertones, which are really like produced with a lot of pressure. But that's also a technique I will have to
so you
learn how to do it.
You extend the range of the instrument downwards, much like the Tibetan monks do with their voices. So
just like the flageolets, but then under.
Then lower. So in the voice, it's like you sing a note, and then you twist your throat, and then it drops, and that goes like.
Exactly.
So the same.
That's exactly how it will sound in the violin.
The same effect allows you to play. What was the lowest we found? I think the low C of a cello. You do.
And on the shruti box.
Yeah. Because this already we tried out 20 years ago. I remember very well.
True. But tell me about that. When I asked you to be one of the composers to write a new piece, you were like, "Oh my God, there's something I wanted to write already for such a long time, and there was never a real chance at the moment to do it." So,
yeah.
But why this piece for me?
Because I think you're a devilishly good violinist, and that's how I've always seen it, and that's something I've always really appreciated about you. And I think you're the perfect person to play this piece, and I feel really a calling that I should be the one to write it. So it was never a question for me. And that's why I'm saying already 20 years ago, I thought one day we have to do this thing, because who else? So,
right. No, but I mean more when I look at all the pieces that I'm getting and that were already written for me, I kind of playing it on one concert. Suddenly, I was also like confronted, hearing what those pieces are, and they all have something in common, and that is that they are for me, for my character, for my way of understanding how music should be played, or my way of expressing things. So more in that sense, I'm asking the question, like, what is that kind of, I mean,
well,
leave alone the technique, and there are many better violinists.
Exactly, so there is obviously the instrumental aspect where, I know you can give me everything that I will ever want to ask for.
Sure, I will do all my best.
And something I also really like about your character is that you've been one of the musicians that I work with who is most open to try out new things, and who is not scared of difficult, crazy stuff on the instrument, because I think you like also the idea that you do something that others don't. So
well, it's not about that, but I just believe that we can always push further.
Exactly. So this is.
Remember, I told you once, like, oh, don't mind if it's playable or not, because that's how we progress. If it's not playable,
I mean, try and find musicians that give you this freedom as a composer. And I think it's also, of course, because we know each other well personally, and we have seen each other's also mental and emotional abysses through the many years.
My weakness is how to create horror in my head very easily.
Yes, but I've also, let's say, we have we have met in normal circumstances and in slightly crazy circumstances as well. So we know we are compatible in this, and it's just something so obvious to me that we needed to do this. So. What I wanted to say about the techniques, of course, on the violin, we're going to look for a lot of new stuff, but I wanted to expand it as well. And my idea is not that it becomes like a circus piece with a bass drum on the back and stuff. It should be a violin piece, and it should be able to be performed without any extras and still hold up as a piece. But since we are creating this thing, let's go for it. And during the process, we will, of course, have many moments that we see, okay, this is actually not possible, or I've studied this for a month and it really doesn't work well. Then we have to find something else. But there's a lot of research involved in this piece, because I want this piece to matter, and I want this piece to be something exciting that also other violin players want to play. So it sounds very pretentious, because I cannot guarantee that I'm actually going to manage this. It's a very hard thing to do, to invent something new for an instrument that everybody has been writing for centuries. So, who am I to pretend to add the next step? But
I
you gotta try, right?
Main focus should be just the subject and what you are expressing with it, and then the technique will come to invent the expression.
Exactly. Exactly, and in that sense, it's very nice to have this short story as a
guideline.
As a guideline, exactly, because otherwise, I mean, you can come up with 1,000 different ideas, but how to integrate them so that they make sense together, and that what comes out is just a piece that makes sense. That is the big challenge. So that is why the story is actually a perfect lifeline when we get lost in our way too many ideas. So, yeah. sounds utterly insane. I like it.
Stay in tune because I'm sure there will be many updates on this
Yes.
topic coming and
Yes.
short videos about how we are working on our stuff. And stay safe. Like us if you do, and subscribe to the channel. Until the next time, bye-bye.
Bye. I quite like it, huh?
They say there is a ghost living here. I think
I think he ran away by now.
I think either he ran away by now or he really loves it. He says, finally.
Cool.
Yeah.
Those were my questions.
Oh.
And I'm hoping that we can come up with a way that this thing can be somewhere and that you can operate with a foot pedal while you're playing.
Preferably
Crazy.
foot
Foot
pedal
pedal.
on the ground.
On the ground, yes, yeah, not up here. But let's say if, because I'm trying out things, new techniques. So the harmonic can be stable. So you
Wait,
can
from the beginning. I'm doing when this.
Yeah.
I can.
Very good.